Welcome to the 10th episode of this essay. In one of the former episodes, I think it must have been episode 6, we spent considerable time talking about logos from the perspective of how Heidegger interprets Aristotle's logos semantikos. Without going too deeply into this, the bottom line was logos is the unsaid that surrounds the discourse from its place of being being put to the fringes of the said or the expressed. It is the unsaid surrounding the domain of the said. This realization regarding this meaning structure has also implications with regards to the question of what constitutes as the truth. Because according to Heidegger, Aristotle's truth is not just what appears in its revealing. Logos also includes in it the possibilities of the truth remaining hidden. This explains why Heidegger came to describe in his later philosophy truth with a concept of Aletheia. This concept is a descriptive of the phenomenological meaning structure relating to the concept of truth. Now, for an average scientist who is well versed in the scientific truths of his own field of study, this all probably seems very lofty and something he cannot see any immediate point of contact with, and that's okay. The phenomenological ground of doing science is not what you are familiar with. But trust me when I say that it's there. It is in the everyday pursuits of your scientific efforts, scientific endeavors. And you can actually see signs of it if you look more closely. Let's say you're working on a problem in which you want to give a mathematical or formalized expression to your study objects. The meaning structures of logos and aletheia make themselves present in the moment of eureka, when you have found a solution but had not yet moved to your blackboard or trying to give it a formal expression. It's the seconds or minutes between cracking the code of reality and actually trying to formulate in a mathematical formula. In these moments, in that moment, unsaid makes itself present in what later can be expressed. It is in these moments that the hidden and revealed are together in what is understood but not yet precisely expressed. Relating to this, there is also another concept which I will briefly talk about, which stems from Heidegger's reading of Aristotle, which is useful in trying to understand some of the essential feats of doing sciences. Because this particular concept gives us a deeper understanding of the phenomenon of theory. And this concept is, I hope I pronounce it correctly, diaresis. In Heidegger's reading of Aristotle's diaresis, this concept refers to something that separates within the framework of what has been brought together. It is a concept that allows you to hearken back to certain things in the past, but it's also something that allows you to think about possibilities in the future with regards of phenomena available at hand, of what has been brought together in now. In relation to modern sciences, how this movement of diuresis has been given expression is in the form of theory. This is because when you have a theory, the theory always allows you to explain a large group of events that possibly happened in the past, events that happen right now in your laboratory when you do your experimental research, or even events that might happen in the future. This is actually where the power behind theories stems from. The power of theory stems from this ability that the theory is applied to numerous possible situations, because theory by definition covers all of these different situations. So far we have already established that the pseudosciences of communism and fascism make up or constitute the logos of modern democracy, but in a backhanded way, in a way that is more of an opposition of logos that is at the center of modern democracies. And with this kind of understanding, it is now becoming also clear, because Heidegger was the first one to point out that the processes of hiding and revealing are very closely attached to logos. So if that is the case, we can also now give a definition for this aletheia aspect of this sama/logos of modern democracy. So we already talked about before what makes the logos/ the opposition of logos specific at the core of modern democracies. But now that we have come to understand that when we talk about logos, we also have to talk about aletheia, we also have to give a definition of aletheia as it appears in modern democracies. And this is the following. Aletheia of modern democracies is anything that distorts, hinders, or completely obstructs truth to emerge as the main character in the podium of public life, so that it can be deployed by those who hold societal power. In short, aletheia as an aspect of logos characterizing modern democracies is a kind of truth that distorts, hinders, or completely obstructs speaking truth to the powers. How does this show itself, for instance, in conservatism and left-wing parties? Or more precisely, how does this all show itself in the unsaid aspects of them carrying a discourse by themselves? Let's start with the conservative parties. For example, they have pressed on for years the idea that social benefits claimers are undeserving, and that these people are an outcome of dependency culture, or what some call nanny state. and also that there is a bigger part of population that makes false claims with regards to getting these benefits than there actually is. There is no conclusive proof of sociological data to validate these claims. The issue rather seems to be that most people in society are actually unaware of what kinds of social benefits they might be entitled to. Now, putting aside the immoral aspect of spreading this kind of bad-mouthing relating to a vulnerable part of society, my beef here actually is healthy and functioning democratic society is based on decisions made with backing of reliable data. It is not based on repeating unfounded claims, the only purpose of which seems to be to inflame the worst impulses of the voters. True democracy, or well-functioning democracy, gets its cue from objective assessment of the situation, not based on ill will or based on bad-mouthing and or shaming certain parts of population. For argument's sake, let's contrast this discourse of conservatives to what I envision an average voter of this new party would have as a discourse. This person who votes this party that I'm proposing is probably thinking something along the lines of, we, the voters of this party, we base our ideas on social benefits, on ideas of scientific studies, on ideas based on scientific studies. Scientists who have actually studied groups of people who are forced to use these social benefits. And all this gives us a level-headed way to act on this political challenge. And trying to be very much to the point when it comes to tackling this political issue. If we take the actual scientific findings as the yardstick to define how well functioning a certain democracy is, I'd say my suggestion for a party is far more democratic than any average conservative party ever can be. What about the left-leaning parties then? In a similar way as conservative parties would like to present themselves as the party of entrepreneurship and individual responsibilities, these parties want to brand themselves as parties who speak truth to power on behalf of the workers, the proletariat. But how well are you supposed to do this if you base your economic decisions on policies that are based on scientifically unfounded principles of fundamental or essential conflict of interest between laborers and employers? I'd say sticking to this fever dream of reason is less conducive to foster well-thought democratic decisions than, let's say, policies that are actually based on raw data that derives from the field of science of economics. Because we do have actually the science of economics, and whatever its faults, there are things in it that are actual fact-based findings, validations of different hypotheses from various strains of data. So, in case of both of these parties of ideologies, whether they're left-wing or right-wing parties, they offer poor starting points, poor pointing out to this or that direction with any policies. And that explains why strides towards societal advancements in our present-day democracies have, it seems, always has been 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Ideologies and parties that are based on them have always distorted political efforts and always provided not quite to the point guidelines for policies. It's almost like they will always hit the mark, but wide of the mark. And with regards to all of these, I would also like to bring your attention to certain essential key player, and this is media, journalists and journalism. The reason why I have not spent too much time talking about media and journalists relates to everything that I have now said about Aletheia of modern democracies. In our present societies, present-day societies, media and journalists are presented as guardians of being able to speak truth to power, not the scientists. For me, this actually fits very well to the way of making policies in this era of ideologies-based policies. Because as far as I can see, from my own point of view, which is the point of view of trying to understand how things appear with regards to certain meaning structures that relate to them, how things appear from the phenomenological point of view. In contrast to this, for me, journalism has always been the ultimate art of surfaces, the ultimate art of superficiality. Because when it actually comes to the genuine work of doing journalism on a day-to-day basis, it always boils down to editing whatever complexity is given to you to a form that is more digestible for the general public. Now, you can do all this work immaculately and sincerely. For instance, the example of a journalist explaining a scientific breakthrough in a way that is more understandable for the general public. But unfortunately, in most cases, the modern journalists, when they do their journalism, they add a couple of words or phrases to the mix that gives their presentation a certain coloring, or it allows what is being presented to lead the attention of the reader to a certain direction. This is also a reason why all this time I have said that they are very much part of the court that surrounds modern politicians, because they are. They have a huge role in presenting to the general public the distorted Aletheia. And for the life of me, I cannot understand why the part of this fourth estate has not been given to the scientists. So the conclusion of this episode is: the present-day political ideologies have created democracies in which responses to political challenges have mostly not that well adjusted responses, and to a degree even undemocratic responses. And what I mean by this is that the political actions do not align that well with requirement of speaking truth to power. And like I stated above, this all is due to the distorted understanding of Aletheia that attaches itself or is part of or is connected to the Sama/logos of modern day democracies. That's all for the day. Like always, press that like or subscribe button, because pressing one of them or both of them, they both help me to continue to make these videos also in the future. For now, have a wonderful day wherever you are in the world, and I see you in the next episode.